Hi, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or P2. Hi. Gast says hi. So today, I'm finally covering Rival Academies because I got my books recently. Like 2 days ago, day and a half ago. Great. I got 3 books at once. Gotta cover everything. Gotta catch them all. So Rival Academies, I'm starting with something that I think will help one of my players. So sure, kind of selfish, but it's interesting, useful, and very, very niche. I encourage you to take parts of this out of this archetype to fit other archetypes. If you would like to skip the intro of the Kitharodian actor and you want to go directly to the feats, go to this time. Otherwise, I'm going to cover the intro first. Kitharodian actor archetype. Some performers at Kitharodian Academy are so dedicated to method acting that they can completely disappear into roles in a manner that's almost magical. Imagine that in a magical game. These thespians are capable of mimicking Taldor's vast array of stage-immortalized luminaries via vivid impressions, awe-inspiring vocal performances, and wild stunts that defy all expectations. I love when people write with flowery text. It's fun. The Academy's foremost instructors and senior Lion Blades agents keep a close eye on all prodigies who show a sliver of this potential, helping them harness their talents for use in both the acting world and the world of spycraft. Ooh. Through Taldor's long history, a handful of classic roles have been repeated and hammered into shape until they became icons and metaphors that define the art of Taldor. Although some of these are symbols of national strength, like First Emperor Taldaris, many are tragic or even comedic figures like Emperor Beldum I. Accepting any one of these roles in a high-profile production can be the highlight of an actor's career, but the best of the best gather these roles like trophies. Newer roles are added to the canon very slowly, with modern figures like Grand Princess Eutropia, usually alluded to with references from other roles. Many performances with Syracuse and his animal friends now feature a dog at his side, for example, as a reference to the Grand Princess's beloved pet. Although the most famous internationally, Kitharodian Academy is not the sole repository of Taldor's stories. Many other schools in Taldor, like the nearby Rhapsodic College... Okay, I have to read more about that one. Teach the classics. But these plays and songs are such a deeply rooted part of Taldor's culture that prodigies arise from the soldiers of Zimar to the dwarven enclaves in Mahito. Something that's very interesting about this is that there are different cultures in this book and their type of magic. There is a new Magus hybrid study. There's a new freaking witch patron. It's a fun, exciting book. It is, however, difficult to find all the pieces that are for players, because, like, in the Lebetstat section, 2 pages in, there's an NPC, and then there's just a spell that NPC has off to the side. Not like in a section of spells, it's just there. So you sort of have to read it like a storybook to get to the player stuff. Or player mechanics. Kitharodian actor dedication. Level 2 feat, rare, archetype, dedication, prerequisites, trained in performance. Go figure. Access, and remember that access just removes the rarity tag from the archetype, dedication, or other feat. Access, you are from Taldor or have attended Kitharodian Academy. You've studied classic Taldan theater and learned to embody various roles to a sublime degree. You become trained in society and in theater lore. If you were already trained in either, you become an expert in that skill instead. I love that they're still doing this in some archetypes. Seems like it's particular ones, like they have a goal for it, but I like when, if you're trained in them, you become expert at the beginning of the archetype. It's just a nice little boost. In addition, when you attempt a deception or performance check to portray a famous figure, you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to your check. This bonus changes to +3 at 10th level and +4 at 17th level. However, you don't gain this bonus while impersonating a figure whose death is common knowledge as determined by the GM. This is a common thread throughout this entire archetype, that it's for portraying famous people. That's really a hazy term, and up to you, your GM, or you if you are the GM. So it could be used on a grand scale, trying to infiltrate some sort of society and appearing in that society as a significant member, or trying to, I guess, infiltrate again a city as a foreign dignitary that's one of these famous people. Otherwise, it's mostly for acting on stage. However, the feats in this archetype, most of them, are useful regardless of acting. So if I were you as the GM, or if I were your GM, I would simply include the feats in here that don't pertain to acting out a famous person on stage as part of the Bard class, and let them be feats of that level. So that if you are taking this as an archetype, you can still take them. Or if you're a Bard, it's a lot easier to take them. That's what I would do. Next feat, level 4, Animal Actor. Prerequisites, Kitharodian actor dedication. I'm not going to repeat that. That's in all of these. You participated in a performance of The Leaping Lion, a play focusing on Syracuse, the animal-loving adventurer who traveled with his ape friend Mardu and remains a favorite hero among Taldan youth. You become trained in nature and a lore skill related to a particular type of animal commonly used in show business, such as canine lore, ursine lore, or primate lore. If you were already trained in either, you become an expert in that skill instead. Again, an automatic upgrade. That's nice. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to all checks to command an animal and recall knowledge about creatures with the animal trait. You can use your chosen animal lore to command an animal of that type. That's neat. That's a very useful animal-related feat that I could see how it fits with playing a specific famous individual on stage. Otherwise, it's simply useful for a lot of different builds and a lot of different classes. So just consider these. In fact, one of them I'm going to offer to one of my players, the guy who plays the Bard, Owl Brunstigan. Yes, that's his first name, because he's a gnome. I'm going to offer it to him as a skill feat, because he's a Bard, and it fits how he's already been acting. Next feat, level 4, Heaven's Step Offense. It's a reaction. Trigger, your melee strike reduces a creature to 0 hit points. Your lessons from the stage find life in the storied mercy and fearlessness of Grand Prince Generis III. I've never liked that name. It sounds too generic. Sorry. With a theatrical flourish, the strike becomes non-lethal, and you can stride up to half your speed in a straight line toward another enemy. This attention-arresting movement does not provoke reactions from enemies unless they are immune to mental effects. In most games, when you drop a monster or unimportant NPC to 0, they simply die. They don't have the varying levels of wounded and dying that PCs do. So in this case, it still knocks them out but doesn't kill them, which could be useful for later questioning them. Either way, it probably won't really impede you, and it just gives you extra movement. It's a useful feat overall for anybody who hits people. Well, with melee. Next feat, level 6, Clean Take. It's a reaction, has a fortune trait. Trigger, you fail but don't critically fail a deception or performance check to portray a famous figure. Thanks to many long hours of rehearsals, your acting skill is infinitely adaptable. Even when your impressions don't quite hit the mark, you're able to refine and tweak your performance on the spot. Reroll the triggering check and take the second result. This one's pretty much only good for the things I mentioned before: infiltration, trying to pose as somebody important, which is also usually infiltration or at least subterfuge, or people who are just actors. Next feat, level 8, Monumental Maestro. You've studied the moving compositions of Andreas Romung, a legendary maestro whose shining crusade anthems live on in the music for the play Echoes of Glory. I love how deep and rich this world is. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to performance checks to perform with a musical instrument or sing. Period. If you succeed, the DCs of subsequent diplomacy checks against any creature who observed your performance are reduced by 2 for the next 24 hours. That's insanely useful for a lot of builds. Yeah, mostly bards, but it's still insanely useful. Next feat, level 10, Stunt Performer's Stance. 1 action, it's a stance. Requirements, you are unarmored. You clear your mind, regulate your breathing, and prepare your muscles in a stance inspired by Kemen Katen, a graduate of Zamar's Monastery of the Seven Forms. Kemen controversially shunned monastic life and instead used his martial arts as a death-defying stunt performer. This makes you a stunt actor. winning acclaim for exhibitions that saw him survive great falls and escape deadly traps. While in this stance, you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to reflex saving throws and skill checks to escape, as well as resistance 2 to all physical damage. This is great! Obviously, this would help anybody who is in melee combat. Yeah, because it reduces the damage you take physically. There are a lot of different builds this would fit for. Obviously monks, because unarmed, or unarmored, I should say. Next feat, level 12, Sympathetic Portrayal. You portrayed Grand Prince Stavian III in Fall of the Troubled King, a production dedicated to the life and times of the paranoid Taldan ruler whose violent resistance to new policies on succession kicked off the war for the crown. Your acting won rave reviews for recasting Stavian's paranoia and political machinations in a sympathetic light, and you've learned to apply these subtle techniques outside of the stage to win others over. Whenever you succeed at a deception or performance check to portray a famous figure, you can select one creature within 60 feet who observed your performance. As long as this creature isn't hostile, its attitude toward you automatically improves by 2 steps, 3 steps if your check was a critical success. If it's hostile, it's stupefied 2 for 1 minute as it tries to reconcile its desire to harm you with its newfound sympathy for you. That's fascinating. I could see you trying to gain access to a jail by posing as the king or something. Yeah, otherwise, it's an onstage thing. Next feat, level 12. This is the one that I want to offer Robert as a skill feat. Sure, it's level 12. It's high level. Seems like it should be really powerful. It's not amazingly powerful, but it's cool. Bleak, Humorist. Reaction. As the traits Emotion, Linguistic, and Mental, frequency once per day, trigger, you are reduced to 0 hit points by a creature within 30 feet, but not immediately killed. You've watched dozens of morbid comedies depicting Beldam I, Taldor's prankster emperor, whose wife accidentally killed him when she struck him with a marble bust after he jumped out from behind curtains to frighten her. You are reminded of this depressing yet perversely comical tale whenever you are near death, and in your final moments of consciousness you murmur a bleak joke to the creature who reduced you to 0 hit points. The creature must attempt a will save against your class DC. I would say it could be class or spell DC, because most things are anyway. It's like it was just left out. Critical success, the target is unaffected. Success, the target is distracted by giggles and can't use reactions until the beginning of your next turn. Failure, the target laughs uncontrollably. It can't use reactions until the beginning of your next turn and is slowed 1. Critical failure, as failure, but the target also immediately falls prone. Laughing. Like, you get stabbed and you're just like, I get the point. And you fall. This is for parties that are half-acting troupe, or for just those who like movies a lot and just take quotes from movies and see their game as a movie. Like, that would be funny to everyone. Next feat, level 14, of Lions and Wyrms, Wyrms, it's usually dragons. You starred in a war drama depicting First Emperor Taldaris' battles against the Grograsant. Sounds like a pastry. A massive 6-eyed lion, and Verxeris the King Eater, a mighty dragon. To prepare for your role, you spent weeks in the wild observing and occasionally scrapping with any creature resembling Taldaris' legendary foes. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to saving throws against effects from beasts and dragons. That's it. It's just, like, okay, how is that useful for somebody who's just an actor all the time? But it is useful for a lot of different builds. You get +2 to saves against beasts and dragons. Mainly breath weapons. This is useful for anyone who needs to be near other allies, like a healer or a melee fighter, or the tank, or wrestler, or something like that. Last feat, number 16, Ruthless Orator. 2 actions, has the traits Auditory, Emotional, Linguistic, and Mental. Frequency once per hour. You were once cast in the role of Deranlir the 12th, one of Taldor's most ambitious rulers who slew his cousin to seize the crown, yet somehow still managed to convince the entire Ulfin Guard to swear loyalty to him simply through his powers of oration. So he was manipulative. Okay. You attempt a performance check to launch into a powerful monologue, pulling lines from Darren Lear's playbook to win respect from everyone around you, even your enemies. The DC of this check is a hard difficulty DC of your level. On a success, any hostile creatures within 20 feet take a -2 circumstance penalty to attack rolls and spell attack rolls that target you until the beginning of your next turn, and any allies within 20 feet are quickened until the beginning of your next turn. Like usual, the additional action can be only used to strike or stride. This is freaking useful. Amazing. This is useful for just about everybody. Especially if you tend to be the target of enemy attacks. You do have to have performance pretty high and have focused on it. So, again, this is for like a bunch of different bard builds. I could see like a melee bard taking this archetype and gaining a lot of benefits from it. Not just melee bards. Like I said before, feel free to take this piecemeal because some of these are just funny and useful. And Bleak Humorist is very useful, but it's only usable once per day and only if you're reduced to 0 hit points by a creature within 30 feet. And even then, they get a save, and it's not like it kills them or something. At best, it knocks them off their feet. It's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. But for 12th level, that's not something I would ever take as a class feat or an archetype feat. I mean, think of the other stuff you could take. I'm going to cover more of this book because there's a lot of fun stuff, but the patron is going to come up next. Because I have to. It's a witch patron. Why haven't I covered it first? That's for you, Robert. Because I love you, man. That's it for Rival Academies for today. I appreciate your time. And if you're a patron, thank you for being here all the time. If you want to be a patron and have a chance of winning some cool dice, then click the link below for Patreon. You have to pledge $5 or more every month to be entered into the drawing to win this stuff. That was loud, I'm sorry. And to my patrons, I just want to say thank you for helping so much. I appreciate your time, and your effort, and your care. If you want to see the Stolen Fate live stream that I've been running, it's morphed into weirdness and been very fun. It's on, I don't know, like episode 15 at this point. And if you want to see the recent build guide or all the builds, they're over there. Thank you. I'll see you there.